Hello, our lovely Girl Awakening listeners. Welcome to 2023. I'm Jo Hendy from the Sacred Sister Project.
I'm Amanda Parker of Mayala Organics.
Come with us as we journey into this week's Awakening episode.
I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams. She teaches me lessons.
Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, Jo.
Here we are again for another GA.
GA.
Let's make that a thing now, a GA potty.
Yeah.
This
Good always.
Good always, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This morning we have another beautiful guest, Rhi Brooke, who is actually a friend of my family's and goes back a very long time. And we've just been chatting beforehand and a little synchronicities with even other people that have been on the podcast.
That were unknown.
That were unknown to us.
Threads.
It's just so beautiful, isn't it?
Threads that tie. And I actually met Rhi through you
Yes.
at a boot camp for the soul weekend a couple of years
Yes.
ago, and that was a pretty epic weekend.
It was.
Yes,
It was
so
beautiful.
Special bonding, but it's real joy today.
So we're going to get to see a little bit inside Rhi today and her journey. Welcome, Rhi. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yay, finally. Well, actually, not finally, because it was all just so beautifully the way it worked out and was meant to be. You had cancellations, we had a cancellation, and it just aligned. So it was absolutely perfect.
Yes. So there's a big theme today around that as well that's going to come through very strongly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rhi is a Zen Thai shiatsu therapist. Now, I've actually had many treatments with Rhi, and it's like next level. She gets you in these contorted positions and stretches your body and releases stuff that's, you've been holding on to for years, and you walk out. Actually, sometimes you feel like crawling out because your body just feels so relaxed. It's like, how do I work again? It's so beautiful what you do, and you're so kind of nurturing and gentle, and it's like a mother earth hugging you kind of thing, and you do it so beautifully, and so it's just so unique to you, a bit like what Amanda does too.
It's all passion that comes through, isn't it?
It's really felt.
Yes.
So anyone interested in trying that out, we'll put all the details on the bottom of this podcast, but we're going to jump straight in. Do you want to ask a big question this morning?
Yes, I would love to ask Rhi what your purpose being here today is, to find out how your Girl Awakening began. Would you like to share with us, beautiful?
Yes. How did my awakening begin? I guess like a lot of the time you have things show up when you're in childhood, but you don't quite make sense of it then. And there's a lot I don't remember, but there is a significant moment when I was about 13. I did a workshop with my mum called Alpha Dynamics. And I haven't really heard of it, seen it since.
No.
But we used to, so I grew up on a hobby farm with lots of animals, sheep, horses, dogs, chickens, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Mum was always into like doing energy healings on the animals and homeopathics, and if the horse had a sore foot, we'd make a poultice.
Oh wow.
So we'd kind of like open to that. So I guess it actually started healing the animals.
Yeah.
And I guess realizing now that it was more like a telepathic communication with them.
Yeah.
And I also see that my mum does that as well. But it was just having a conversation with them without words.
Wow.
Now I understand what that is. And
Amazing.
it started there, and then when I was 13 I did this workshop with Mum, and it was all about, because we had an old bushman who was our horse riding instructor, who would kind of do their teeth, do their shoes as well. So he was a jack of all trades, and he was a very spiritual man.
Wow.
And he told us about this course, and it was all about being able to, so you'd go kind of each weekend for so long, and the ability to kind of create this workshop in your mind to actually heal yourself, to heal others, how to heal remotely.
Wow.
Did a lot of that eye gazing with another person, and then you'd kind of, or how to remember things. And it was all like done with like colours descending or numbers descending in.
Wow.
So I was kind of open to that at 13.
Yeah, big
And-
step in the door.
Yeah, so like we used to have this massive, we used to rescue a lot of animals. So pretty much all our dogs were rescues, all our horses were.
Wow.
And they had some sort of trauma
Yeah.
that we'd spend months working with.
Wow.
So like a sanctuary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your little field.
And when you go to my parents' property, they're at Sandford on the north side of Brisbane. It is actually like between like energy grid lines. So it's actually like this haven for animals and spirits. And you go there and the place is full. You can feel them all around you.
Wow.
It is like this little haven between these energy lines.
Yeah.
It's like peace.
Oh.
And it's a very, everyone that comes just instantly, don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Animals that come here just like transform. They're like a
Yeah.
different animal, different personality
They're
after a
being
month.
seen and being nurtured.
Yeah.
Wow.
Grounded in.
So so I guess growing up, I guess people was not, I didn't feel like I could be myself around them, or that whole thing of not being understood or seen, which is our topic for today. But I felt the animals saw me.
Wow.
So, and there was this, I remember like it's recently come up, diving into childhood stuff, because I've always gone, I've got to move forward, got to, just work on this, focus on that.
Yeah.
And it's like, just being present with my childhood felt like this deep loneliness that completely like swallowed me in. And it was the only time I could actually, I remember sitting under a big fig tree, and my dog would walk up and he would literally just lick my arms, sit there and rest his head on me. And I just have this conversation with him, and he would reply and just fully understand where I was at. Or I remember running down the paddocks, being upset about something, and I'd be sitting in my horse's paddock, and she would just come up and put her forehead on mine, or her head on my heart, and I'd just like cry, and she'd hold me. So I've had like so many times of like, they just saw me, understood me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to like explain myself, and there was this pure like
Love.
Connection.
connection.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I've actually just saw a picture of there's now places you can go with horses that actually do therapy,
Yes.
and they do exactly what you just said. They either pop their forehead on your forehead, or they pop their head on your heart, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you can feel, that's just so beautiful.
So powerfully beautiful.
So without kind of being aware of that until now, reflecting back,
How special
it
that
actually
is.
started there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so amazing. And you would have just thought that was normal.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been anything to you. You would have just like, this is my life. Like
Yep.
any other kid would go and jump on a bike and ride the bike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're out on the farm with these horses, communicating with your animals, and it's just totally normal for you.
Yeah. And so even if you'd go and, do a competition, it would be just like, I would have a thought of where I wanted to go, and she would just go there.
Wow.
Because we had built this respect and this bond. And I'm like, I know if something's not right as soon as I sat on her. And then this was the whole, and this is where I've learnt that this whole energy healing and the sensitivity of touch with the purpose, what I do now came from this, because I always remember my teacher saying to me, when you sit on the horse, imagine that your spine is actually a part of their spine, that you are a part of them.
Wow.
So can you actually feel? And we'd have to ride around with our eyes closed without holding onto the reins, and purely just feel their hind legs stepping underneath. So you could feel which leg was stepping under more than the other. Or if they were sore, if they weren't. He's like, okay, you want to stop here, so you pre-think that, give them warning, and then just breathe out, sit deeper, and then stop.
Wow. It's that real essence of becoming one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really was that.
Wow.
Being able to feel so deeply into your bones and then into another being.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it started, just that passion for movement. And it was like my friend said to me the other day, that's your language. And that's where I guess I get nervous about the talking and sharing stories, because everything comes to me through a deep feeling in my bones, and then imagery. I see so much imagery that it's almost like you kind of, it's like codes. You sort of have to depict what imagery and stories playing out, and then give it words.
Yeah, a bit like dreams.
Yeah. It's like that, trying to make sense of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So I've often, in the beginning, I thought that was my head just making up all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it was almost like I would see all this stuff, but it didn't quite make sense because it was really abstract when it started. And then there was like a disbelief, so that would kind of close it off. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to share this because people are going to think I'm crazy. Right? And then I started seeing, I guess, a clairvoyant medium who she could talk to animals and anyone that sort of passed over. And
are you still like 13, 14? How old are you now?
No, older.
Yep.
Because it's kind of started from then, and it was like slowly.
Yeah.
You know, some people get a big awakening.
Yes.
It was like this drip feeding.
Yeah.
For years.
Beautiful.
And then,
So
I would
you're
have
at
been
normal school too, aren't you? When you through all this,
regular school.
Regular school, yeah.
And so when would this have been? Because when I was about 19, I did some self-development workshops. So I was a personal trainer at this point in time.
Yeah.
Teaching water aerobics and boxing, like all that sort of stuff. And then it kind of started to go, oh, this is not quite, I can't work in a regular gym. Like if this is what it's like, it's not me.
Yeah.
So I found a studio, believe it or not, called Emotion Fitness.
I'm
like, this is me. And they were right into life coaching and
the holistic side.
Yeah, working on your stuff.
The
And
holistic aspect of
So at 19 I was exposed to that. And then so went on a journey of all of that, and then but then also saw the entities and the distortion or the ego that was still present in when groups of things come together.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to observe, but I didn't see it when I was in it at the time.
No.
It wasn't till after that I think I was 21 and I went traveling around Europe.
Yeah.
Just kind of packed my bags, had a one-way ticket, and got on the bus about thing and just travelled by myself.
Unreal.
So I thought, oh, maybe I'll, constantly seeking and searching, that always feeling lost, always feeling alone. And I thought, maybe if I go to the other side of the world,
I'll find what I'm looking for.
Which happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you meet someone from home across the other side of the world.
That's right. But I realised when I got there, I was like, oh, wow, I've travelled all this way and I still feel I'm running from this feeling.
Yeah.
And I still feel exactly the same, even though I'm like thousands of miles away.
Yeah. Wherever you go, there you are.
That's it. And I was exposed to Zen Thai before then. And it was just that resonance, that deep calling that was just experiencing it for the first time. And it just made sense to me. It just like that heart was just like, it's like someone was saying in your ear, you have to do this. So as soon as I came back from traveling, that's exactly what I did. And I've been doing about 10 years now.
Yeah, wow.
Haven't stopped. And then you always learn stuff along the way.
Yeah.
But it kind of just evolves. The practice evolves. Like as you, I guess, awaken as a person, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And
no, absolutely.
And it grows with you.
That's right. And
so you were kind of you were kind of born into already quite a woke family. I don't like that word woke, but an awake family. Like your mum seems, just from what you've shared, seemed like she was on her own kind of journey into this realm as well. Like she knew that there was something more out there for her to hold a space, for you to be able to feel it in yourself and have that resonance. So
I guess she was basically a nature spirit, wasn't she? Like doing what she loved, and you were in harmony with that. Like that was a harmony for both of you.
That's it. And I think we've spoken about this often, and she said, wow, I just love hearing about what you're doing in your life, because everything that you're doing is what I always wanted to do. And it's because she didn't have that support around her. Yeah. And she was in that time, it was she wanted to do things differently. She knew there was that calling, but then that doubt came in, or it wasn't that support. She was the only one feeling this way.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I'll do it this way.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't feel right. And there's like everything she passed on, I guess, and shared with me, just like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do it? And it just like, I've just kind of followed and brought that into my life.
Yeah. We're lucky we have so much more freedom these days around, you know.
Taking opportunities or to stepping into a space that seems outside of the box.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more people that feel supported in that area. Where back, you know, speaking for your mum, my mum, I mean, your mum, it's like, you know, it was against the grain.
Yeah.
You know, you had to either fully step in and do it and just go for it, or hide it.
Yeah.
Because you would have been made to, like, you're crazy, or, you know, that's not right. You need to get a 9 to 5. You need to, you know.
Have family, children. And I guess also like the support groups that you're talking about too were more uniquely scattered, I guess, for women to have a louder voice back even a generation ago and say, oh, I want to go to university when I'm 20 instead of doing, you know, stepping into marriage and a family, things like that. Freedom of choices, even though we're an open society. It takes courage at any time and a certain knowingness, but if you're questioning yourself in any way, in any way, as regardless, if you're questioning yourself regardless, it becomes so much harder, a different level, even if there are avenues. And it sounds like the people that your mother gathered around, like the person who cared for the horses and things, like a spiritual man. I mean, she was attracting to her
a tribe,
a community anyway, wasn't it? And that was, you know, what a strength in itself.
So you've now travelled overseas and you're searching for something that's were you still very conscious of, you know, what was happening around you and all of that, or were you kind of wanting the normal thing, like were you wanting to party, were you wanting to, you know, or were you still very much open to having an experience and knowing that, you know, you're not just human, there's other stuff going on, or were you avoiding that?
I was probably more avoiding it. Yeah. The whole wanting to fit in.
Yeah.
And that changing yourself to what you think
society wants you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, if I behave this way or and look this way, then, you know, I'll fit in. So there's this constant tug of war.
Yeah.
For quite a number of years. Myself.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of anger. I had a lot of anger.
I was just going to say, how was that working for you? And you answered me before I said it. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of anger and that just frustration of like, why am I pretending to be something else? This is not me. And then it was exhausting. Yeah. So it's like we'd go out, pretend to be something else, and it's like it took all your energy that I'm like, okay, I've now got to go away for like a week and isolate myself, and then the loneliness stuff comes up.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting little cycle and pattern that played out. There would definitely be for years, and it was more that, oh, why is it happening to me? Yeah. Rather than that it's happening for me. Yeah. It's like now that you see that, like in challenging times in life, you're like, man, I'm being really tested right now. Oh, remember, this is happening for me. This is a gift. What am I so in the emotional body that I can't see the gift yet? Yeah. And sometimes just having those little words just to like slow down, and then you go, give it a month or two or even a week. It's getting quicker and quicker. Yeah. Now it's down to 24 hours. Yeah. Like, boom, I see it now. Yeah. Okay, we can move through that. Yeah. Next one.
No, absolutely.
That's pretty powerful.
But yeah, the Zen Thai, as most people, I know you had another beautiful lady who has done the Zen Thai training, and it's a very transformational experience for self. So it's like, I'm like, when I first started, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to do that. And it completely like cracked me open. Wow. Because I'm the kind of person that, and I guess there's lots of other women out there that do this, is you're going through a struggling time within yourself or your belief patterns and all of that. And so I tend to retrieve and like almost hide when I'm in a state of struggle. Yeah. And it's like when I start to give it a few days, once I start to feel better, then I can come out and talk about it to you, but I come across of like, oh, I've worked this out and
Yes.
it's okay.
Yes.
I was in this, but I can say it and like not cry
Yeah,
or not
Yeah.
feel it.
Because you've been in that
Yes,
space in your
this whole
cave,
like, I'm
basically.
a vulnerable
yeah.
woman because I'm sharing this
Yeah.
with you.
But really, I haven't looked at everything.
Yeah, yes. But they're looking at you saying, "But why are you smiling?
still
Like, why
avoiding-
you look so happy? Like, you know,
still
I don't
avoiding
feel this is
everything.
real."
So there's this whole
I'm
false
hearing
sense of belief.
you.
I'm a totally vulnerable, raw woman. I can just do this without crying. Yeah, don't worry. I've got it worked out.
I've got it sorted.
And it's but I just won't show anyone that when I'm actually
In the process,
falling apart.
Yeah.
And so that's been the learning of to actually even show myself this rawness and this vulnerability, and it's okay to like not have like, oh my god, why am I crying, you know, that
Yeah.
whole hold it back in, starting to kind of allow that in.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm totally hearing that
Yeah,
and
me
feeling
too.
that as well, and the card that Rhi pulled today is trustworthy guidance, but also just pulling back to trust, you know, to trust that you've been received, like with that horse and your dog coming up to you and just giving you, without any words, but so much feeling support and recognition. There's not many, it's not always easy to receive that from people. And I was reflecting when you were talking before about, you know, you've been surrounded by these beautiful animals and the space that was there and the communication, that telepathy that was there. It's very uncomplicated, it's very pure, and it's just, it's so just pure in the heart. And to have, our words often complicate things so much, you know, conversations, because people, you know, as much as someone wants to be there for you, they will filter through their own processes, their own experiences, what they're hearing of you. So sometimes they're hearing you, sometimes they're not. Sometimes you just need that being received, don't you? So I kind of understand what you're saying about needing to retreat to process the rawness of it, because it's just it's totally raw. It's no colorings.
Yeah.
But it is also an amazing thing to have when you do have people around you that can receive you, do see you, to be there for you in that moment too, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's like the Zen Thai community. I remember the first day working there going, I hope I'm in the right place. You know, you can rock up with your bags because it's like a 4-day retreat sort of thing. And this woman just comes up to me and goes, oh, you're here, welcome, and just gives me the biggest hug. I didn't know her at all.
Yeah.
And I'd never, like, someone just completely giving you this unconditional love, this embrace as if you've known each other for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like just this realness.
Yeah.
And I'd never experienced that in life before
Yeah.
without any hidden agenda.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I'm just like blank face, like hugging her, just going, wow, this feels nice.
Yeah.
This is different.
Yeah.
And then I just, fell in love with the practice because it's heartfulness. It's, you know, it's not just about the body. It's about the spiritual practice, the emotional body, the Chinese medicine, the 5 elements, how that's all weaved in. And then, as, you know, Gwenny will say at the end, now, you learn the sequence to then forget the sequence.
Yeah.
And you make it your own.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty in this, is because everyone that does it has their own unique little presence that they bring to this. And it just keeps evolving. It's this ever growing, ever changing. It's not one sequence you learn, but then you go, oh, I found a better way to do this. Everyone, let's do this. Oh wow, that's cool what you're doing. Let's bring that into it too.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was you're in a circle. There's no hierarchy. It's this sharing, collaborating, because everyone comes from different walks of life, sees it from a different perspective, and has something juicy to bring into it.
That's life, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
and that's where I met Mark, my husband. So we actually met in Bali doing a Zen Thai yoga flow course for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it was just that soul connection.
Yeah.
It was just that, like, we call it the love bubble,
Yeah.
because we just like met, And it's like, honestly, this like shield of like light kind of came around us, and it's like we could be there for 2 hours talking and it felt like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
We weren't even aware of people are walking around. It was
Yeah.
almost like you're in a daze.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And so our souls are just like connected
Yeah.
ever since, and like it's been like a journey,
Yeah.
but it's like you wouldn't have it any other way.
No.
And that ever since meeting Mark, then, you know, met you guys.
Yeah.
And then that's where it, like the awakening really has kind of just
Taken off.
accelerated from there.
Yeah.
Just all the stuff, you know, we learnt with Trev, and how much, you know, he holds him so close to his heart, of how much he does life completely different.
Yeah.
Ever since, you know,
Yeah.
you guys being in his world. And then he shared a lot of that stuff with me. So I tend to be more that sort of cyclone in the emotional body, and he can just so calmly just step in and diffuse like the chaos that's going on in my brain.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we can discuss things, and it's sort of things are clearing like within hours, or one conversation where it'd take me like 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
And then having 2 beautiful step boys, as well as my own little 2-year-old now, there's constant, like, I really believe that accelerates your
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
journey. I remember listening to a podcast of a lady saying, you know, it's actually our family and the people around us that we constantly bump up against that reflects what we need to learn and change and grow.
Absolutely.
And so you think, oh, my sister's doing my head in, or
Yeah.
son, oh, for goodness sakes, I need time out right now.
Yeah.
But then you just witness something, and there's like this mirror reflection of like, oh, this is what I'm not taking responsibility for.
Yeah.
Or like, how can I, it's actually my behavior that's setting everyone off.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's like this daily reminder of like, to step up and
Yeah.
to observe.
What a beautiful reflection, because I think
So much.
a lot of us, you know, we don't put as much importance on the people that are closest to us in the reflection side of things. We kind of just go, oh, it's just life, you know.
Discount them.
But
'cause
if it
it's
happened
familiarity.
with a friend, it would be so much more deeper, and it means something and all of this. But when the same thing might happen with a family member, we kind of write it off and we go, oh, just because it's my sister or my husband or whatever. It's like, no. That's
She's always
another-
like that. She's
Yeah,
always doing
yeah.
that. It's an outside thing as opposed to what you're just explaining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in every moment, there's somebody ready to support you on your journey, whether you like it or not. And you know, a lot of that is the closest people to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we a lot of the time we don't want to look at that either, you know, because they're always there. We just want them to just go away for a little while
Yes.
until I calm down. Or, you know, stop doing what you do to me all the time.
Yeah.
Sure, this is your fault.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's such a beautiful reflection for you to have that with Mark and be able to bounce off each other, because I'm sure he does the same thing.
The
Yeah.
expansion,
Yeah.
you know, the channel, the open channel was what I was feeling when you were talking, was just that open
Yes.
channel,
Yeah.
which just has so much possibility and potential and
Yeah.
energy flow, doesn't it?
That's it. And such a healing with the masculine,
Yeah.
because that was the other thing that I'm really been working on the last 12 months is how to do this whole sacred feminine thing.
Yeah.
Because I've like lived in the masculine for so long. Like, you know, Mark was studying full time for 7 years, like the whole time we were together. So I didn't know any different. And I was like, okay, you study full time. Okay, you can, he was almost like, you know, look after the kids kind of thing within studying. And then I was working
That's
in
right,
Brisbane.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yes.
And so it was this very like, again, accelerated learning
Yeah.
of like, okay, I'm now pregnant with my bub. And it's like, you have to step into the feminine.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, I understand the like, oh, but how to actually feel it, be it,
Really.
do
Yeah.
it and bring it into your life.
Yeah.
And there were things about the masculine that I wasn't even aware of that I was doing, like that organized, having everything pigeonholed, structured, of like, okay, everything's in flow, because it's like every hour in the diary's like,
Yeah.
so
Counted.
if something falls out, I'll lose it. But right now, it's just like, it's all together and go, oh, you've moved that. Well, I don't know what to do now. And
Yeah.
so I didn't even realize that was being in the masculine,
Yeah.
that rigidity.
Yeah.
So I've really just gone on this massive like year of actually discovering that. And it's kind of this clumsy journey in it. We go, I'm in my feminine for like an hour, and then someone said this, and I'm like, why the hell did you do that? And then everyone's like, okay, back away, she's got her claws out. And I'm like, I just want to hug, and everyone's scattered.
Yeah, it's like up and down, in and out, up and down, in and out.
And I'm like, I feel like I'm doing such a clumsy job of this, but it's like that whole, like,
but you're doing it.
Yeah, but giving it a go. And so that's been the last 12 months, is this deep dive on like what actually is the feminine, and to really, and it's interesting that I've chosen Zen Thai because I spend all day holding people and being that mother, and it's like, oh, actually all I want is that, but I can't actually allow others to do that for me.
It's funny when you just said that, I straight away went back to the horse, you know, like you're now doing what the horse did for you. You know, it's like in some way you're holding, nurturing, supporting people. There's no words spoken. There's just this beautiful flow of, you know, love and connection that you do for people. That's so unseen. Unseen.
There it is again.
But so sacred, you know.
Felt unseen. Felt,
yes, absolutely.
And because I'm going to ask you to explain, like, actually what a Zen Thai session is about, but it's movement, isn't it? So it's flow, and this is what you're talking about with, like, the dance between the masculine and the feminine, that the flow, the holding space, the flow, the holding space, and that's really what, like in Zen Thai. Can
I just say something very quickly, because this just popped in. I watched a video this morning on one of my favourite ladies, Sarah Alcoldi, this morning. She was talking about how do we ascend, like what a quicker way to ascend, and she started talking about the fascia. And it literally just then it was just like, whoa, oh my God, because I thought of you. So she was talking about the physical side of the body, and especially the fascia, and how we can work with that to help us become more fluid in our body, to help us ascend. So
100%.
I'm going to hand it over to you.
Come on, Rhi.
Because I've been diving into this the last 2 years. So if you asked me like 5 years ago of what Zen Thai is, it would be a totally different explanation.
Like more of a physical body type.
Yes, because I've been like, the physical body is what I know so deeply. But it's definitely transforming into more of like an energy healing at the same time as doing body work. So I'm really excited but really curious about this, because I'm kind of learning it. It's really just starting to come into play. And I did a online course last year, and it's a whole new technique from a lady in America, Alicia Celeste, and she does like a stepping, so a form of like standing on your forearm, and then you have to move your fingers or your hands in different ways. And she talks about actually shearing the layers of fascia. And how that shearing, that stimulating, actually generates the hyaluronic acid that our body naturally makes. That is used in like this, our body has like a water battery from the water we drink. Needs this hyaluronic acid, and then it turns it into this gel-like fluid substance, which is fascia, that then feeds and nourishes like all the fascia, all the organs, all the tissue. And it's like in
amazing.
some
it's
areas,
so amazing, isn't it? And you can also feel where energy holds in this area. You know, like trauma, like, you know,
that's 100% right. So you not only have like the sheaths of fascia, like a great example is like on a roast chicken, you take the skin off, there's like that thin white sort of layer, that's fascia, connective tissue. So you have this physical thing you can see, but it's also like this gel like substance, and that moves like water in the body, and it's like I can see it and feel it. So now when I do Zen Thai and this body work, I actually feel myself go inside.
Wow.
And I can it's like everyone's body has a different, I guess like some people can talk to other people's higher self and their soul, and it has a voice. But it's like I do that with the body. So like someone called me a body whisperer the other day.
Beautiful.
So if that's a way to, because this is all felt, so it's hard to give words. And so
a
it's
trusting, isn't
it? It's like I can actually feel and sense the liver, and it has its own energy. It has its own, I have its own conversation with it, and their body has an own language and conversation, and it will direct me, and I'll even see images of how I need to have their body to free out that physical trauma in their fascia.
Wow.
Because they say that the brain cells that we actually have in our brain are scattered all through our connective tissue.
Yeah.
And that if you were to actually strip away all your bones, all your muscles, organs, and just had the fascia of a person,
Yeah.
you'll be able to see the complete outline of them.
Wow.
Like a mother would know it's her child.
Oh.
And it also stores memory. And what I've been learning is your fascia also, it actually can sense, like your brain goes, perceived danger or safe. It's very black and white. Whereas your fascial system, if you're walking into a social environment and if you kind of sense something doesn't feel right, it will actually start to like change and try to protect you.
Wow.
And if you're in a feeling unsafe, it will actually thicken in parts of your body to actually make a physical shield
Wow.
to protect you from the outside
The
world.
body is freaking amazing, isn't it? It's magical. It's like we just do not give it enough,
Yeah. Well, this is
acknowledgement.
coming into learning around this magic and what our bodies is, the awareness around this. I mean, oh Jesus, we need to be so much more humble around what we, how we heal, what we know, what we don't know, and how we can. How we can honor this vessel that we are in so much more.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Keep going.
Yes. So I've just fallen in love with it. It just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And so she does this really powerful technique, and it's like as I step off that person's body, I actually can see where it moves to, and it might move to a complete, maybe their arm, but it moves to the opposite hip.
Wow.
It's like a wave rolls through their body.
Wow.
And so now as I have more the ability that I can actually have my eyes open, be working and be seeing, and almost like, I guess, channeling, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
So the guides of theirs come in, and sometimes it's even another language comes in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't do this language thing, whatever. And next minute I'm speaking this other language. And I'm thinking, but if you would ask me how to repeat what I said after the treatment, no way.
Yeah.
Like we disappear into this bubble, this
Yeah.
vortex, and there's just magic.
Yeah.
Magic is the word of what unravels.
Yeah.
And it's not
back to that oneness.
Yeah.
It's like where you
Where she
become
shared
one
childhood.
with that.
Yes. And so then that's the other therapy I've been dancing with is called Wu Thai. So the Zen Thai, which is what Gwenny's magic he's made. And then he's also learnt from this beautiful man, Roland, the French osteopath. And he's merged osteo with Thai. And he's kind of created his own gestures of how to actually dance with the fascia. So Wu Thai or osteo dance is like two circles, if you imagine, where they cross over in the middle.
The Viscia Pesci or whatever. We was talking about this the other day.
Yeah, so it's like you've got your energy
Yes,
field,
and the
the
other-
other person's energy field, and that
They
space
join.
where they cross over, that's where the universal energy comes in.
Yes. That's the Vesica Pixie, or am I saying it
Yeah.
something like that?
So that's the symbol of the Wu Thai.
Ah, wow.
And because he's a very spiritual man too, and like you could, like Trev would love it, just
Yes.
sitting there have conversations with this man.
Yeah.
It's like next level. And he's just one of those geniuses that have just studied everything. And
Yeah.
then he's like, okay, so I've literally done 30 years of study, dissecting cadavers year after year, and this is what I've, come with. So I've brought the osteo to the floor.
Yeah.
And so it's all about being in a gesture, finding this reciprocal tension, like almost like a rubber band,
Yeah.
where it's not pulled too tight, it's not too slack. And then you start to pulse, you start to do these circles as if you're following a little fish in a fishbowl, is what he says. And you start with the circles, then you move into the figure eights. It's like, then you lose the fish in the bowl and you're now in the ocean.
Oh, wow.
And it's like you're actually feeling and sensing there's this is the giving and the receiving.
Yeah.
Because if you're actually being drawn into the person's body, they need the healing. If it's actually you're being pulled away, you need it.
Ah.
So at the same time, we're actually both receiving and giving
beautiful.
to each other.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
he always says before you start a practice, you actually face away from the body. And he does this qigong movement with his hands, and it kind of realigns like all the organs. It's almost like a double helix kind of movement.
Yeah.
And he's like, you let go of everything you know,
Wow.
everything you've learned, everything you know, and you just step in and just do what's needed.
Yeah.
And so it's this whole just being called as if you've like, you know nothing,
Yeah.
and you're like doing this for the very first time.
Wow.
And so really I just fell in love with his work. So it was fascia in this whole subtle, gentle way. And then actually moving in a way, so it's like, and we'll come into this in the mother of Iwa is very present with me, and she will show me, she goes on the inside of their body. I watch her, she kind of heals, and she'll guide me or then move inside my body and move this way. So I have to undulate in a certain movement at a certain pace for this body to free out what needs to be freed out.
Wow.
And so it's almost like as I'm learning, as I'm going all of this, an understanding of actually who I am. So it's kind of like this self-discovery through this body work, this healing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just so much passion fuels me up, because I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to know, or
Wow.
feel like I've come here to be in service.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like my whole life purpose, all my searching through my whole life has been to try and all I want to do is be in service to another human being. And I've been learning since doing some healing work with Brett and some other different beautiful people, understanding of actually who my soul is, where I've come from, and what I'm here to do. So it's all about that I've been a healer over and over again. And it's actually starting to learn how to go back, retrieve what I used to do, and then bring that healing in to heal people in this body, in this life. So that's the quest I'm kind of on at the
it's
moment.
so beautiful just listening to you say that, and I'm having these realizations around, you know, being of service. When you're in true service, you are literally getting back
Yes.
what you need. Like the universe is then of service to you. You know, it's like whatever you're being in service to or of is literally flowing back to you. Just hearing you talk about, you know, what you're giving people and doing for people, but you're getting it back
Yes.
just as much.
Yes. That's right. And there's like, there is no time,
Yeah.
and you have an abundance of energy. It's like I'll do seven, I've done up to 10 hours straight in one day.
Amazing.
And it's like when you're in that vortex,
Yeah.
it's like time doesn't exist, and you're just in such flow. And this is where it's like, that's the sacred feminine in that moment. So I'm also learning from this practice of how to bring this into my life, everyday life, when I'm being mum,
Yes.
when I'm being, you know, businesswoman over here, or doing the groceries. How can I be that flow, that divine feminine in practice, as in practice it in my life?
Yeah.
And I need to pause on that for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feeling that. Because
Is
I literally was, when you was just, that was what came up when you were speaking. I was thinking how, like, for our listeners as much as for us sitting here, because we're literally feeling in that flow of what Rhi is sharing with us about what her practice is, what her service is. But then when you walk out of that bubble, out of that space, how does that all translate into the real world? You know, and then you just explained, like, okay, you're learning how to hold that out into other avenues of how life expresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I find, for me, it's the feeling. So it's like we never forget a feeling. It's like you can close your eyes and you can remember you have a certain feeling in your body, no matter what feeling or vibration it is. And you can actually recall that and bring that back into your body in this moment, even if it happened 10 years ago. And so I go, if I can feel what it feels like to do this dance, going, that's the sacred feminine. So how can I, this breathing and actually feeling myself slow down. And it's like I start to expand almost out of my meat suit, that I'm actually not physically here anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there's this slowing down. There I am. There's that feeling of self. And then there's this like fluid movement. And that's how I go, okay, I lost it. I was stepping into my masculine, scaring all the boys away, my family away. And then it's like, oh, I've got to come back, breathe. And it's as soon as I shift my energy, it's interesting how my family, all the boys around me, their energies shift. And so we really are almost like that keystone of balancing the energies and how quickly we can shift it back.
Yeah. When you have that connection, because we've like so much is changing now. Like we've talked. These times are just incredible, and this is just a time frame in all of being where, what you're describing about for me is resonating so deeply. A lot of this is all about, and the talk about the med beds and things like that. That some people, my mother, like just so holding their breath for because of the healing experiences that every part of their bodies are crying out for.
Yes.
But what you're talking about is literally what this premise of, for example, the med beds are about, or this technologies that some of our people have spoken about that are coming through. It is about, for me, what you're talking about, it is about activating. Some people are here to be healers, and obviously their level of activation in that space is even bigger, but I feel like in every being that responsibility to activate in ourselves our healing energy, that flow in ourselves.
Yes.
What you're talking about right now
Yes.
is incredibly entwined with the essence about what this new earth is about, because it is what it is, isn't it?
It's a beautiful balance of leading and being led.
Yes.
It's like it's the feminine and the masculine, and it's the holding space and allowing space. There's just so many things that mean the same thing, and it's about just being conscious of being in that space with as much as you can.
And the activation of our cellular body, and our beingness in a reciprocal relationship with that, like you said, that self-awareness. Where am I sitting? How am I responding to that? Am I holding space? Am I flowing around this moment? I'm feeling like
and it's wild because we're here, we're in the bubble right now, we're having this conversation. It's a beautiful space. There's a lot of expansion that's opened up in the space this morning, and so how do we learn to be able to take that space with us everywhere we go, and that's the challenge. That's where we're at. Because it's the smallest things. We can get in the car and we can go out the driveway and someone can pull out in front of us and we're like, fucking idiot!
Use your indicator!
And then, for me, recently it's like I really get upset at myself, when I do stuff like that. And it's like, Joe, what are you doing? Get your shit together, You've been going so well,
I literally...
I'm constantly yelling at myself and then I laugh. Like this morning I had a little accident at the gym and I was just like writing my body off. Like, you can't let me down now, Yes. I'm really loving doing this. I'm going so well, And then it's like, whoa, okay, that's why my body kind of had that little reaction this morning, because I've probably been a little hard on it, and it's like, you need to give me a break, You need to rest.
You're pushing too hard. You're feeling amazing, so you want to go harder.
That's the masculine side for me. It's like, oh, okay, I need to start really refining. And that's what I'm getting to with what you're talking about. It's getting really refined in the feeling area.
Yeah.
No, but that's what's happening.
And
at the
that's what I
moment.
always say is like your body can't just write you an email and go, hey, I need a rest this week. So it's like it's going to give you feelings, emotions, sensations.
Absolutely.
And so if it like often we get attached to, oh, this is really painful, I've got to get rid of it. Oh, it's just driving me nuts. I can't. And we actually almost like sometimes panic or fear. Or
Yes.
we go, oh, relapse. Oh, 5 years ago this happened.
Yes.
Is that going to happen again? And it's like sometimes it's amazing. You go, oh, I get curious about that feeling. And go, wow, where actually is it? Wow, when I press here, it radiates up to the top of my head. And it's like you actually stay present with this sensation that it's not bad, it's not good. And go, body, what are you trying to tell me that I just can't see? I'm moving too fast. I'm ignoring you.
Yeah.
And we either have things where we like run away from it, or we just go into rapid, I'm going to throw everything at you, even the bathroom sink, to like fix you, rather than just like, and I do it myself. So I've been even practice. That's what I'm saying, because I'm practicing it in my own life of going, oh yeah, I'm the person to just like try and get rid of you straight away. But oh, you're telling me something and I'm not listening. And it just gets louder and louder until you actually can't move.
Yeah.
That you're forced to then listen.
It's a bit like
and
the family
embody the
thing that we were talking
sensation.
about before, you know. It's like, it's one of those things, it's a constant. And so because it's been a constant, it's like we just kind of put it to the side.
Yes.
And it's like, no. We need to face it. We need to sit with it. We need to listen to it more. Yeah.
And then you might get, I just need to like go and do that stretch, or I just need to go and lie on the bolster or do a sound healing.
Yeah.
And as soon as it's your body just wants to be heard, be seen.
Yep.
There we are again.
Yep.
And it's amazing. I've had pain leave my body in an instant just by, I see you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, body, I didn't listen.
Yeah.
And it's that acknowledgement, and it seemed like you were talking to your child.
Yeah.
You do that to your own self, your own body, and you're like, I wake up the next day and it's gone. It's like, thank you for seeing me.
Yeah.
Now you can continue on your merry way.
It's so true. It's so true. Now, look, just on that, you know, like
it doesn't all happen that way.
No,
Like if you have
it's a transition of
that's it.
shifting of energy and
That's it.
So
And sometimes we've got to witness and sometimes it's purely like, even have some people on the mat, I'm like, wow, their body just is like, no, I will not let you in.
Yeah.
And then going, okay, what am I missing? Where do we need to go? Because I tried this way, no, tried that way, no. And then it's this massive full emotional release.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously it doesn't come out in first session with someone, and then all of a sudden it was like this, their body said, okay, next session you can come in.
Yeah.
I trust you.
It was like we needed to emotionally like release, and I just held different acupoints, and even just like the simple act of, you know, stroking someone's head and being held like a baby at that mother. Complete emotional release, just witnessing and totally embodying that and letting the emotion completely roll through every cell of your body.
Wow.
And then it's like that calm after a storm. And then there was just this going, oh, thank you. You can now work on the hip, or you can now go into this part of the body now.
Yeah.
It was
I'll
like
open this
invitation.
door for you.
It was like a door being opened.
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
Wow. That's so beautiful. I'm thinking, I haven't needed a session with Rhi.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you talk about too the fascia, like that reflects the tone in our body and things as well, isn't it? Like, you know.
No, that's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah.
The tone.
Yeah.
And you know, how our body holds us, if you want to, you know, it holds us in shape, or, you know, where we sag, or, you know, and it's not, I'm not talking about wrinkles in this, well, it is wrinkles, but, you know, it's more than that. It's and then it's that, I guess, autonomy or the strength that we have within, as well as without, how we hold ourselves present, how we walk through our day. So I was
it's like the body's a complete reflection.
Yes.
In every
aspect.
aspect.
That's it.
That's right. The spiritual, the emotional.
Yeah.
And it's like every experience you have is stored somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I even think of like what Eckhart Tolle would always say with like how you've got, you know, pockets of emotion.
Yeah.
And even from your open-hearted ceremony, I still remember that picture when you trigger each other.
Yes, yeah.
And it really is true.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where and like even like with what you're saying, where like Roland would say, you know, when you actually look at like everyone's bones, they've got slightly different grooves on it, because it's where the fascia is, maybe it's tighter and it's what shapes does your body take all the time. Like if you're a cyclist, for example, your body's always going to be in a certain shape.
Yeah.
And so your fascia is going to tug on your bone and actually create certain grooves in your bone.
Wow.
From the way your body is moving in the shape. So if you were to strip back, and when he did a lot of the cadaver work, he found that, wow, like everybody that he worked on, there was slightly different grooves in different places on the bones where the fascia actually merges with the bone fibers.
Yeah, wow.
And then, you know, you've got not everything, it's the one thing that connects everything, but it separates everything from each other.
Wow.
The fascia in the body.
Yeah.
So when you like stop and go, oh wow, it connects and touches everything. But even your liver is in a layer of fascia, and then your heart is in its own fascia, and then it's in like a whole bag of fascia, and then there's fascia around that. So even every nerve ending in your body is wrapped in a little bit of fascia.
Wow.
And it all merges. So the quad fascia merges into the adductor fascia. That merges into the hamstring fascia.
Wow.
So they're all like one piece.
Yeah.
The layers just intertwine.
I keep visualizing, there's a picture on your Instagram page, I think it is, and I have seen it on another page as well, where it's people dancing, but
Yes.
somehow it's like they've put it in, like it looks like fibers, like
Yes.
that are moving, and it's so you know, captivating. You can't stop watching it.
Yes.
And I can imagine that's the fascia, you
It
know,
is.
like dancing, and every time you move somewhere, it's like the whole body moves with it, kind of thing.
That's
Something
right.
else
Yeah,
moves
that's
somewhere else.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Now I want to move on from this.
So just one thing I want to add with that though, because one thing when you just described it as the fascia touches everything in our body, yet it separates everything, and like there's a lot of talk like at the moment around the plasma that's in the universe and in different dimensions and things like that. And I just got a really big hit on our body fascia being all like a
Plasma is in
a
itself.
form of a plasma. Yeah.
Well, what is it? Micro as in the macro. It's all. It all reflects each other, doesn't it?
See where that goes.
I wanted to just we've actually talked about a few of these questions as well.
Yeah.
But like I know you mentioned Bodhi. I know you've got 2 beautiful bonus kids as well.
Yep.
But I know, you know, being a mother and birthing a child completely shifts everything.
Yeah.
So what kind of things happened for you after you birthed Bodhi?
We're going from being a practitioner.
I think I'm just going with my intuition here, but I think maybe you falling pregnant was the start of things for you, because you had the most magnificent birthing story ever.
Yes.
So yeah, I can imagine that you know the awakening journey went to a whole other place when you fell pregnant with Bodhi.
And I remember having a session with Trev and him saying, this is actually like you are going through a rebirth as you birth this baby.
Oh.
And that just like switched something in my mind and was like, wow, I'm actually completely, it's like being the caterpillar in the cocoon and stepping into actually being the feminine. I was almost like pushed in a way to really transform into being that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the start of it. And a lot of that's also when the visions started, and seeing beings like Nikki Simmons is like the veil between what we can't see and the 3D self is almost becoming like it's transparent.
Yeah.
And that really stayed with me, because I can starting to see like beings walk around as if they're as as clear as you sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just witnessing that ever since birthing Bodhi, that has really shifted.
Yeah.
But also on the flip side, reaching the darkest places inside of myself that I did not even know that was there.
Right. So
children can do that.
Yes. But then that pushed me to do, felt the calling to do Iowa retreat.
So ayahuasca, we're talking about.
Yeah. And so and I've never been called to before. I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to do that one day, but it never came up. And it was literally this pinnacle of reaching the depths of myself, of darkness.
Which is so interesting, you wanting to do this now you're a mother. Like,
Yeah.
it's like people, you know, because it can be terrifying, you know,
Yeah.
when you...
Yeah.
This whole process of ayahuasca, and being a mother, you try and avoid things that put you in that place.
It is
Yeah.
another energy, isn't it?
But
as well?
yeah, you being called to it is like, wow, that's
I'm like,
so interesting.
having a 2-year-old, and like the teething was, I literally did not sleep for 18 months. Like, I don't even know how I drove a car.
Yeah. Wow.
I was driving like a nana because I was so worried about like delayed reaction.
Yes.
And I think I just I can't get any darker than this. It's
Yeah.
like, it almost scared myself of where I went.
Yeah.
And
What was it? Was it the tiredness or was it the being a mother?
the tiredness.
The tiredness,
I think,
yeah.
because Bodhi would wake up 7-8 times a night,
Wow.
hysterically screaming, being that in much pain with his teeth.
Yeah.
Like, one tooth would take 3 months to
Oh,
come out.
the poor
So
thing.
literally
Yeah.
from 6 months to just before like October last year, he didn't sleep.
Like October the 10th at 10:45.
Yeah, but
That's
just
what it's
having
like,
to-
isn't it?
yeah.
It's like he finally
But
turned the
sleeping
corner.
on me,
Yeah.
breastfeeding on me,
Wow.
and then
Yeah.
when I was treating and giving to people during the day, I literally just combusted.
Yeah.
Like, I literally just
It's a big...
fell
Wow.
apart.
Yeah.
And like, that's where I did feel like I went into like hiding, and it probably only wasn't the start of this year that I kind of like walked out the cave
Yeah.
and was like, oh wow, look, everything's different. People are here. It's time to be seen, Rihanna.
Wow.
Stop
Yeah.
hiding.
Out of hibernation.
Yeah, it really was. Like, I honestly don't know where the last 2 years went.
Yeah.
I go, oh, you know, the boys were saying like, oh, didn't that just happen last year? They're like, no, Rhi, that was like 4 years ago. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Just complete almost amnesia about
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so then, I think reaching there was just this, okay, I'm doing it.
What was the calling though? Like, was it that you did hit a rock? Like, why? I'm trying to put the two together.
Yeah, it was like, I remember I dream a lot at night, but I don't remember it. And I remember waking up, and it was just because I knew Brett and Kim were doing a retreat every 6 weeks or something, and I just woke up and was like, there was honestly like a voice in my head went
Okay.
October.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
all I heard, October.
Yes.
And I'm like, called my friend who helps run the retreats. I'm like, is there a work retreat in October? And it was a different voice that I hadn't heard before. It wasn't my own.
Okay.
It wasn't like your higher self saying something. And it's like, is there a retreat? And she's like, actually, there is. Don't worry, darling, we'll make room for you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it can't get much worse than
Yeah.
this. So the only way is up, right? And so, because at that point, and I was like an emotional wreck
Yeah.
leaving, because that's the first time I'd left Bodhi.
Right.
And it was just, I was still breastfeeding. I didn't know how this was going to go. Like, he was so reliant on me.
Yes.
But it was in that place where I'm just too exhausted to even do anything.
You had
Yeah.
to do something else. Something
And
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you
And
don't serve yourself, then you won't be able to serve him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I was living, felt like I was so depleted. I was like a shell. There was only the shell of me left.
Yes.
And so rocked up there, and the first night was beautiful. And I was shown, like, it was so busy. Like, the whole night I was sitting there just like
In ceremony.
in ceremonies,
Yeah.
realizing who I am,
Yeah.
seeing all this cool stuff. And then the next night I just slept.
Yeah.
People actually thought I had died. One guy came over at the end and was like, man, I got up really close and I was trying to hear
Oh,
if you were
wow.
still breathing. I honestly thought you died. It's like the vision was,
You were supposed to just go into a deep rest.
I was actually saw
Yeah.
like a cocoon of
Yeah.
like the mother's roots and leaves coming over me. And it felt like it took me an hour, and I just went down back into the womb of the earth.
Oh, wow.
And I just had I honestly felt like I'd slept for a year.
Yeah.
And
deep
I
rest.
literally woke up kind of like 5 minutes before, you know, Brett's like, okay, we're going to start to slowly come out. So it was timed perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, didn't remember a thing, just deep sleep. It was almost like I was completely
Restoring.
being held, like, oh, maybe this is what people feel like when I'm treating them and holding them in the arms of the mother.
Wow.
And then that night, I got all the like shown everything what happened while I was asleep.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So it was like, I thought, oh, well, that's just it. That was cool. So
Yeah.
I'm going to come back again just
Yeah.
to sleep. It's like a mother's dream,
Book
right?
me in once a month.
Classic.
I'll get those years back.
Yes.
No, but and then I was like, oh, like all this stuff happened while I was asleep. So it was like just downloads of like, like for hours until 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, I better write that down.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that sort of started, and I was like, then I was told, oh, this is the beginning of your journey.
Yeah.
It's like everything you've done since you were a kid. And I was kind of like, the ego was like, well, I've been working on myself forever. This won't be too hard.
Yeah.
And then it kind of go,
Watch
you know
out.
what? I'm going to drop you down a few pegs.
Yeah.
You're a student again.
You're a student. And now this is the beginning.
Yeah.
This is what I was sort of like, the feeling was.
Yeah.
And so that's really helped me. And ever, like they say, the mother stays with you.
Oh, of course.
It's like you can just feel her in an instant there, and she always helps me support others.
Well, it's you.
Now since, that's right.
You know, it's you. It's like, it's so beautiful. Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying.
It's shown in all those ways. So that's
beautiful. So
that's
that's
where we are.
where you are with Bodhi, and like now you feel very centered in where you're going and what you're doing, and the different elements of the Zen Thai and all of that are coming in. And you know, I know there's a lot of talk around too, a lot of different modalities coming through, you know, that we've never seen before. And I feel like that's more because people are actually just owning their own gifts.
Yeah.
And you talk about Zen, you've learned from this person and that person, but my feeling is that you're going to learn your own way, you know, and you're going to bring in some elements that you may be teaching others, you know, but it's who you are and your essence coming through in the treatments that you give people.
Yeah, that's it. And this is all the learning and the discovering, the
Yeah.
exciting part, and and even getting that opportunity to work with a lot more mums and pregnant women now. So that just takes a whole nother fold. Because then during pregnancy, I would telepathically talk to Bodhi a lot, and I just thought, oh, all mums do this. I've often heard people say that they can connect with their bubs.
Yeah.
And even just like the other week, I actually saw the soul of a mum's baby come in while we were doing the dance.
Wow. Yeah.
And like, so just this magical things where you're just in awe, and it's like, wow, like you said, just our bodies or the place, the magic is just happening all the time.
Yeah.
And
You just
when
got to
you
be
think
open
you've
to it.
seen
Hey.
Yeah. That's it. Literally just, I'm not doing this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just going, all right, I open, call it in. Like you're saying, for how do other people do this is the willingness that Trev always talks about.
Yeah.
The willingness, and simply just like, even if you're like new to this, it's kind of asking your guides for support, and then you're like, oh, something just happened. And that's almost like all the synchronicity things. Oh, that just took no effort and it just happened for me.
Absolutely.
Or this person just walked into my life, and that's exactly the person I need to help me with this.
Yeah.
And then you start to live in this life of just like flow, which is still like sacred feminine, but it's that openness, the willingness, and it kind of, but still partaking and taking responsibility for yourself too, and making it happen.
Absolutely.
Well, you have to wake up in the morning, put your clothes on, brush your teeth,
that's right.
create food, getting your child to school, things like those things. It's that it
it's a beautiful
flows
balance.
out into the dance around everything, doesn't it? Where like the flow is within you, but it's also within your environment. Yes. And there's a recognition of how you all working together, and
and it's like you said, as the Earth's ascending, we're having to learn how to merge this in.
Yeah.
And like live and be it together.
Yeah.
Rather than, I'd always admire, that's cool that, clairvoyants can like channel and talk to spirits. And stuff. And it's like, wow, it's like we all can actually.
Yes, I know. I know.
They're like, that'd be so cool to be that person.
It's so wild, isn't it? I totally hear what you're saying. For a long time it was, clairvoyants, and that were like, we had them up on pedestals, and now it's like, God, that just seems so weird now. Like that you could just about talk to your best friend, and they could be saying to you, look, I felt this and I heard this, and this is what I feel now. And that's clairvoyance, you know. It's like it's in us all so innately, and it's just about, once we get the flow, what we've been talking about, it's that just is in there naturally.
Yeah, just allow it in. And then they're believing it.
Yeah.
I really noticed as soon as I started believing, whoa, things just like shifted really. It's like, well, thank you. We've been waiting for you to just like own this.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And believe. It's not like, you know, some fairy tale. It's not your head making up stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was in a confusion a lot of going, what's my higher self and what's my mind?
Yeah.
Because and that was the beautiful learning with ayahuasca is I was shown like all the different layers of my mind, every perspective, and you're like, wow, this is such an intricate thing. And I was like, I totally thought that was my higher self, and it so wasn't.
Yeah.
You sneaky bugger.
Yeah. Discernment. It's a big one, isn't it?
So it's like I spent hours just going, whoa, and look at like it just played out in all these different ways. And I was like, wow, I had no idea how like almost crafted this mind and this brain that we've got.
It's so powerful, isn't it?
That's a huge recognition in itself, isn't it?
Yes.
Because like, you know, it's leaning into trusting in ourselves even on a deeper level again, isn't it? With seeing through that little persona that's presenting there and playing the game of who you are.
Yep.
You know, we do these things to ourselves as much as we see it out. Or what? Again, it's that reflection. What we see happening around us is literally happening within us. As you say, with that, what we thought is our higher mind or our, you know, wiser self or this, but no, it's still the ego.
Yeah.
Or it's still this or that. And then you have that gift of that experience where all the filters come away and the, you know,
the veils.
Yeah.
That's right. And then you connect with, oh, there's the voice or the feeling of higher self. So when you're trying to navigate in this life, you can go, oh, the confusion gets less and you start to speak and be more in your truth, which I'm really learning at the moment is speaking my truth. I've spent so long and actually physically couldn't want to say something and like nothing would come out.
Yeah.
And so just like really working on that. And again, Nikki Simmons helped me a lot with that stuff too.
Beautiful.
Of and it's been coming out this last week and I'm almost surprising myself going, did I just say that? Like usually I would really think about what I say, be the nice person, you know, let that person go in line or just, you know, put yourself last. I'm like, actually no, that doesn't work for me today.
Yeah.
I was like, who said that?
Yeah.
And I didn't even think it just came out and I was like, this is cool. The confusion starts to go, you're speaking your truth and I'm like, wow, this is such an empowering feeling.
Yeah.
Cool.
So apart from, you know, that
Very
speaking
cool.
up, speaking your truth when you need to, how do you know, like, do you have is it a bodily thing for you when your higher self comes through, you know, around the truth, or is it more of someone speaking to you? Do you have a body, does your body react? So do you feel it in your heart space? Do you feel it somewhere, or are you just certain now that you know the difference between your higher self and your mind?
I still get confused. So I'm still in that learning of, I'll have moments and I'm starting to still, because when I'm moving so quick and like I've got 100 things to do, trying to do it all, that's often when it gets missed. And I don't speak my truth, or it comes out in more of an uncentered, distorted way and go, oh, I could have said that a little bit more gently. Came out very, no.
Yes, I hear you,
that sort of thing. But when I'm that higher self, it's definitely a certain voice. It's a certain feeling in my body, like the whole body has a certain feeling. And then when it's kind of happened, you're going to go, wow, that actually feels good. There's that empowered feeling that I'm not used to feeling that.
Yeah.
Or you often, when you haven't spoken your truth, you walk away feeling that frustration or angry at myself. I knew I wanted to say this and I didn't say that. And now this has played out because of it. So that little stuff that happens afterwards, not speaking truth, doesn't happen. Yeah. When you're on point.
Yeah. That's a really good little tip there.
But I just see as like, oh, I'm using this life to practice all of this stuff. Yeah. And like Mark said to me, you know, because often it's learning with the kids a lot. They're my greatest teachers.
Fabulous.
Oh, that really didn't turn out. And Mark's like, you know what? They're really forgiving.
Yes, they are.
And like I remember like going, oh, I said something to Sonny that I shouldn't have said, and then like he was upset with me, and then an hour later he's like, do you want to do drawing? Yeah. And I was like, oh, see, he's already forgotten. Yeah. There was just this pure like just love and forgiveness, and I love you, Rhi, giving me a cuddle at night. And I was like, oh, I thought I thought he would have hated me for a lot longer.
Yeah,
And
they're
I think
they are.
but
yeah, and that's where the undercurrent is so strong of the love is so real. It's and the trust there that not even thinking the child, not even where children don't. It takes them a long time to get to a point where they start to think, oh, she's doing that because she doesn't like me.
Yeah,
They're always thinking that you know you're acting from love, or you're in this space of like we're in this together.
there's so many second
It's just
chances.
so gorgeous.
Isn't there?
Yes.
There's so many
for that.
second chances. They're so accepting, and they let you off the hook because they want to be let off the hook, because they make mistakes too. And it's like, that's what I'm becoming.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have I've got my grandbabies now, who are just so speaking their truth. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
So beautiful.
There's so little complication
Yeah.
in the interactions. And
Yeah.
the
I'm getting
experiences.
now from Hugo,
Yeah.
Ninny, what are you thinking about? This is what he says
really?
to me now, yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is what Ninny's thinking about. And then he's, he doesn't, I think he takes it on, but it's like, oh, let's play trucks. The next second. It's like, but for him to even ask that question is just so beautiful. The kids, once you give them enough space, it's like the things they ask you.
The beginning of
so
awareness
beautiful.
of you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
recognizing you and seeing you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to to our last question, actually, too.
So how long have you been practicing the Zen Thai for now?
Since 2014.
Okay.
For nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I really don't do much of the personal training stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of moved into, I do some one-on-ones, and I started a Zoom session where I call it a recovery class because we learn myofascial release, how to release your own fascia, and to give you tools of how to rehydrate your tissue and that sort of somatic awareness of that fluid body, connecting in with that, and how to bring you from learn in your own experience of how it works for you, how to connect with your body from a sensation level.
Yes.
So I'm really passionate about movement. I still love movement, and go, how can you also look after and nurture your body and learn your body's own language, but then also doing the healings and the Zen Thai, Wu Thai magic, whatever that's evolved into now.
Yeah.
I don't even have a label for it.
Yeah,
the
which is
Thai.
beautiful.
The Rhi Thai.
Let's not lock it in to anything.
Yes.
But the movement thing is still like from going, because I feel like your childhood really just created this beautiful, even though you described it with a sense of aloneness and loss, that amazingly grounded open space of connection with energies that were not necessarily tangible but so in resonance,
Prepared you.
prepared you.
And it's actually, you just saying that, something popped in and it was like, oh wow, it's often I actually felt so safe in my body. I actually didn't feel safe out here. I never saw it this way before, whereas often people don't feel safe in their body that they leave. Whereas for me, it's like I've always been so grounded and just knew the path I was walking on in some ways. But that's where I almost kind of really went in and really got to know this on such a deep level that I can even sense and feel it in others, to even animals.
Beautiful.
Absolutely, that's
Another little aha moment.
No, I could feel that from when you first started today, like talking about, I didn't know that you had that with animals, but it just makes so much sense now when you have a treatment with you. It's like you just do exactly what they've been doing to you. It was almost like that was the purpose. Sharing, and you were destined to do that for humans. You know, they were just saying, we're just going to show you this, so when you get bigger and older, you can do this for others. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So, this one doesn't even really make sense for you, but how do you see the world now through Rhi's eyes? Like after everything we've been through in the last few years and all of that, how do you see the world now?
Wow, that's a big question.
Yeah. It's interesting because we are in very much a very internal space right now, where it is a lot about self-reflection.
Yes.
You know, it's a lot about what's going on for me personally, you know. So to ask that question feels quite
and yet
bizarre.
it's kind of like that as a you know, it is bizarre, but also like, because it is about the internal, but because of the experience of the last couple of years, there's also the aspect of like we don't have any choice or freedom or around what that means, because I'm being told to do this, or there's, you know, the world is doing that, so I have to be in response to that. So it's a reactive state or a fight or flight state, you know, that you know, stressed state of response to the world. And we're trying to come back in, you know, there's that part of us that really wants to come back into what you're talking about, Rhi, where we're sitting in our bodies and we're free in our bodies to move and flow as it feels right to us.
Yes.
So kind of where you're sitting in your world as being in your family, but in your person and who you are as a sovereign and autonomous being, as well as the healer and that practitioner. I mean, you're kind of in that space where you're helping to create space for other people to move to where the world's needing to go, isn't it? Like I'm getting a really big sense around.
Yes. It's moved, it's changed, and I feel like that perspective of how do I see the world now is like it keeps changing.
Yeah.
And not to put a time frame, but like almost like every few months. Like I've gone through a period of feeling the sadness of the collective, and just like, or just in one being, and or even working in their body, it's like, where's their soul? And so just feeling that, but on the individual, but then also the collective. So I've gone through that place of feeling the sadness, like your heart is breaking. But then on the flip side, as feeling the earth ascending, and then you're seeing these people wake up, it's like, yes, you're seeing it, and they're like, oh, this happened, and it's changing really quickly. And I finally like feel free in myself, not, you know, finally living their truth or their purpose. And then so you go through, I'm like, good things are coming. And then being able to I guess connect in with the beings that are around us, seeing that more, and having conversations with them or where to go, and you just go, wow, this is exciting to be able to really feel you. And that we're going to start to really merge and live together, and like, what's next? Like it's this it's moving quite quickly, but there's like this excitement for it at the same time.
Definitely. And it is a view, it is a perspective, isn't it? It's like all about perspective. It's like you can choose however you want to see it, and if you want to see it like that, it can be amazing, and there's so much available for you. But you can also see it in a different way, and it can, you know, tear you down.
To see the unseen, and I guess what you're describing too, Rhi, is that the elements, the energies around what your choices are, the timelines that people choose. You know, if they're choosing, I guess, the mainstream, if you want to put it that way, which I guess is tied into a lot of challenge and probably a lot of grief, or you know, constructs and being contained in certain paradigms. And yet there's a joy aspect, which she's saying is like, seeing the alternatives, the freedom, the space that we can move into. Like, you know, it's kind of what you were describing, and what you were describing is kind of like, okay, am I going to choose the black or the white? You know, two different constructs, two different timelines. But coming back to, okay, well, where am I in myself? Where is my healing? Where is my pain? Where is my recognition of self? Where is my, you know, purpose? You know, asking those questions. And what you've been describing today has been so fully around that, like at 13, stepping into doing a workshop which was all around that, and then continuing your journey on from then. Because how old are you now, Rhi?
I'm going to be 32 next week.
Oh,
So you've-
that's so beautiful. Oh, wow.
it's a very
Yes.
big journey, you know.
Wow.
It's an incredible amount of embracing expanse and soul. Yeah, it just really
Yeah.
fills me with so much. I don't know. You know, just seeing I've been getting a sense of the new earth just sitting here with you today, just
Yeah.
like what that space is all about.
Yeah.
And it's can feel it. I have the opportunity
tangible.
to see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this feeling of freeing out. And it's like everyone wants that feeling of being free,
So
Yeah.
of being seen,
Yeah.
of being totally unconditionally loved.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm embarking on this journey, like discovering it at the same time. Like I guess in this time I'm still young
Yep.
and like still got heaps more years ahead of me, I know.
Yeah.
And another bub on the way.
Oh my God! Are you
Not now,
serious?
not now.
Oh, I was going to say it's 11:11. No, and it's 29, so that's 11.
So Rhi's just decreed
11,
that
11,
her
11.
and Mark have
She's
decided.
not
Physically.
pregnant.
I'm not pregnant.
Not pregnant. Let's make that very clear.
But have been
Yes, thinking about
in
it.
thinking
connection
about
with.
it.
Yeah.
And so already met the soul.
Yeah.
Who's
Beautiful.
coming in. So
Yeah.
we're having conversation with the soul
Yeah.
of who we're going to bring in next. But the timing's not right yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
as just like Bodhi, they just know.
Yeah.
They know when they're
absolutely.
coming in. Like took 3 years
Yeah.
of calling Bodhi in before
Yeah.
he came.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be that long,
Yeah.
this one. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's lovely to be able to connect with the soul and really get to know them before they're even
That's so beautiful.
here. And I talked to Bodhi about like, have you met your sister yet? Or
Cool.
and he goes, yeah.
Oh.
Talking about that pure essence.
So
Would you like to
beautiful.
do this? No.
Yeah.
He just knows his mind,
Yeah.
knows who he is, and he'll just hold my face and
Oh.
give me a kiss because he doesn't say a lot of words yet, but he's such a switched on kid
Yeah.
and he just the expressions in his face.
Well,
and
there's
his
no need
know.
for words, you
Yeah.
know. It's like that's the other thing too.
As the
It's
animals
like,
say.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There's
I'm just
no
going to
need for
feel
words.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. We'll just be running mad, playing with his brothers, and just go, "Mummy," and then just runs in for like the biggest hug where they wrap their little arms around your neck and like nestle in.
Oh,
It's like, I just needed that, and then just walks
Yeah.
off and goes and plays again.
that's so beautiful. That's a lovely way to end
Yes.
on a
with a
Bodhi
hug.
chat and with a hug.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your journey. It's really been so beautiful and so expansive.
Yes.
Like so expansive.
Yeah, because you mentioned about the birthing story too, and I wanted to mention that you already spoke. We didn't really touch
There
on
is
it
a
today 'cause
podcast.
there's a podcast.
What
There is
that
a
Rhi shares.
podcast.
Yeah, did
So
you
you'll
say-
share that. Rhi
I will share
that.
it,
Yeah,
but do you want to say it too? What?
It's called a place called Birth with Megan Amore. So
Yeah.
she was our doula. And there's like an hour podcast on there to hear the
The
Bodhi's birth story.
It's
which-
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, very inspiring.
Yes.
It blew me away.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. It blew me away even though I was
I
it.
started as one woman and came without someone on the other end.
It's so amazing. Like literally, I've heard it and I cried nearly the whole way through it because it's just so inspiring and so. I just loved your determination. You just knew what you wanted,
Yeah,
and that was so beautiful.
yeah. And and it really hits a chord in my heart
Yeah.
because my whole intention was for this birth was I wanted to give him the best start
Yeah.
that he could. And
And
I
I-
did everything in my power to make sure that happened.
And you did it so well.
Yeah, and
so
I didn't
beautifully.
know, and you don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
You can do all the right things,
Yeah.
and put your whole heart and soul in, but you have no idea how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And
The first birth is
It's really-
always, you know, because it is the first birth. It's such an incredibly huge experience to step into and be a part
Yes.
of. But to go in with that
Yeah.
intention and awareness.
We'll let the listeners go on and listen to that podcast because it's totally worth listening to for any new mums or past mums
it's
as
really
well
good,
because it's
yeah.
just so incredible. But thank you so much, Rhi, for coming in. I'll pop all your details if anyone would like a little
To be in
treatment
touch.
from
Yeah.
Rhi. It's a must do to have that experience. So thank you, honey. Thank you.
no, thank you for having me.
Thank you, gorgeous. Yeah. Thank you for listening, and remember, all links to our guest are in the notes. Leave us some comment here or message us on Instagram how our guest today connected with you, or perhaps something you wish to share. A special thank you to the blissful Ksenia Luki for our theme song. Joe and I will be with you next week.
Bye.
Ciao.
She teaches me lessons, and boy does she sing. Her voice sways like a hummingbird, flies like a shooting star. She whispers, you were never born, so you will never die.